this opening sequence is really, really, really fun. And I really love it. I think it's great because you got some comedy of what's going on. It is a really crazy stunt when he opens the door and flies into the plane and then like
it's all banging
his
around
head on the side. And then just the way that he looks when they pull the thing out, and that he pulls the parachute.
He gives that whole look. He does that a few times in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I really love the opening sequence. I think it's really, really great.
Yeah, it really is a great way to jumpstart the movie. And we know all these characters now, so they have their interplay with each other, and you hit the ground running. And to your point about the stunts, I think I do like the building one the most, and perhaps in Fallout when we get to it in our next episode as well, because this one he just kind of runs and does it. And it's like a one action, as opposed to the other ones where he's like has to climb and do all this crazy stuff, right? This is like hold on to the plane. Not that that's not extremely impressive, right? I'm just saying like there's more to the other ones. It's a whole sequence as opposed to a moment. But it was a great moment. But I had to say after I've never seen The Mummy, the Dark Universe movie, The Mummy, with starring Tom Cruise, right? But I've seen the trailers, and him getting thrown around in the aircraft carrier like this reminded me of the trailer for that film. It was like a breach in the aircraft character, and he's all flying around with the mummy and stuff. So they clearly took some inspiration from this film for that one. So
okay, I haven't seen that one yet myself, and I don't remember the trailer. I just know that what's her name from Beyond was in it, right?
Yes, Sophia Boutella.
Yeah, excellent. Now. Oh, okay, so then the next one I want to talk about is the vinyl sequence in the record shop. And I didn't notice it on first watch, but I noticed it on the second watch. Did you notice that Solomon Lane was sitting in another booth listening to music when he walked in?
Oh, yeah. When I first saw it in the theater, I had not noticed him, but that was a great pickup. It's like, oh, okay, he was waiting for him.
He was waiting for him. But yeah, that sequence really is amazing, and I love how it parallels how the movie ends.
Yes, it bookends it well. Ethan Hunt gets his direct revenge on this guy and puts him in the exact same situation he was in at the beginning of the film. So yeah, that was a great symmetry there. And he had a little moment, with the obviously she's an IMF agent, but the record store attendant, and she's like, "Oh, you really him?" And he's like, "Yeah," so you felt worse when she died. She wasn't just some faceless extra. Him and her had exchanged a few lines of dialogue, so you felt a little more when that character got killed.
Yeah, imagine that job. Hey, you're a secret agent, but we're just going to throw you in this record store for now.
It's pretty low risk. But of course I say that, and then she got murdered. So maybe I'm
get killed.
Maybe I'm wrong about that one. But that was cool. It's a great misdirect too, because you think, okay, he's getting his mission like he has in all the other movies. But then the narrator takes a turn, right? It's like, we know this because we are the Syndicate, and you are next, Mr. Hunt. And that was a great turn, I think, of something that had become very expected and ordinary. I mean, it's cool to see what new ways he'll get his mission. Like, it's been a disposable camera, it's been sunglasses, it's been a record player, right? But it was cool that it took the turn. This is not just another assignment. This is the main villain, making his presence known.
Yeah, very creative, very wonderful way to throw you off as a viewer and to change your expectations and to, subvert your expectations. Because here you are, you're just expecting the mission, and to have the bad guys be the ones that have taken over this is really, really creative, and it's a really great way to start the film.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about other moments, Tom Cruise moments in the film, after this, right, he wakes up and he's been captured, and he's handcuffed to this, this pole, and the scuffle ensues, right? And he has to climb. He cannot get the key over to the unhook the handcuffs, so he basically just climbs up the pole with his own body strength and flips over it. I'm thinking that is impressive. That is impressive right there.
I want to be that strong.
Yeah.
Do you think I can do it, Zach? Do you think I can get that strong?
Well, with enough time, exercise, and eating your vegetables, I think you might have a shot, Brandon. But after he escapes, did you notice he did some Kirk fu in this scene, the fight scene? He runs at a guy, does the running leg kick that Kirk does on Star Trek: The Original Series. I've never seen that in any other action scene outside of William Shatner. But I was like, oh my god, he did Kirk fu. I loved it.
Well, yeah, Case. Now talking about some of these running, jumps and kicks and stuff like this. I'm sorry I'm bad with names. You know that I am. The woman.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Elsa.
Okay, so Elsa. When they brought her to see Solomon Lane in the hotel room, and she does that thing where she like steps on the guy's knee and then goes over his head and twists around and like knocks him down and stuff. I'm like, that kind of doesn't look that looks weird to me. And she did it again.
Yeah, that's the Black Widow move in all the Marvel movies that she always does when she's like breaking someone's neck or something. So yeah, I thought like what? Usually that's to kill someone. But she just kind of did it to do it and like establish some dominance there. It was a random act of acrobatic attack, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know, like. Okay, I'm just going to say it right now because it's going to come up pretty soon here. So this movie didn't really hold up for me on a rewatch.
Really?
Like I was pretty impressed with it. I didn't think it was better than 4 before, but I won't tell you how far it dropped on my list, but it did drop significantly on my ratings this time around. And there was a few things in it that made that happen that just didn't make sense to me. There's a lot of really great stuff in this, but one of the things that threw me off on the rewatch is when Solomon Lane just shoots the guy behind her.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just more of a bad guy trope. Like, I'm going to kill my henchman. This shows you how little I care about life. I mean, that's what I got from it.
Right, and the fact that he killed that girl in the record store, I'm like, these are bad guy tropes, and like I go back to Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in 3, like that character was so good, such a great evil character, but he wasn't just arbitrarily killing people left and right like Solomon Lane is doing here. And it just, I don't know, it almost doesn't ring true for me in the franchise. I like Solomon Lane, but I just don't like the way that he's so flippantly killing people.
Maybe maybe it is too tropey. Maybe it's a little too James Bond villainy, perhaps. Because that's what the James Bond villains do. They just kill their henchmen with no regard for their life, and that's what I took it for. I mean, this guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just doesn't care. But to your point there, I do. See, but okay, he's better than the last. He's better than the last villain's movie.
Yes, I would agree because the last guy was rather bland
and vague intentions as well.
Yeah, but it didn't bother me because the focus wasn't really on him. It was on all of these crazy things that were going on in the mission. And in this one, it's so much on Solomon Lane. Like, so much of the plot focuses around him, because he's built this group and he's planned everything out to the minutest detail. And these people have all faked their deaths to join his cause, so like these are extremely loyal people to him. Like it feels like he built up more of a, like, how do I want to word this? He's built up something really big in this almost anti-Mission Impossible group, this anti-Impossible Missions force, that I don't think that he would just casually kill his members like that.
Well, maybe. I mean, it seems to be a sticking point for you, but
yeah,
it really didn't bother me because I'm just trained to accept that with Hollywood bad guys to establish dominance upon their subordinates. Like, hey, if you step out of line, I'm going to kill you. Of course, he has plenty of opportunities to kill Rebecca Ferguson, but he doesn't. So,
right, yeah, and I don't know why, but
it's interesting to me. I mean, you mentioned Philip Seymour Hoffman. I still think to this point he's the best villain in the franchise.
Absolutely.
I think what Solomon Lane as a character does in these next 2 movies makes him a very great villain. But just he doesn't have he's kind of, it could be anyone. Like if you got a Benedict Cumberbatch or somebody in here with like, I don't know, some gravitas to add something to the role, like it's just he always talks like this, Ethan. He's just so like subdued, and that's fine, I guess. But Philip Seymour Hoffman was that way, but then he flipped the switch when he needed to. He's like, "Do you think I'll do it?" At the end, which is scarier because he's been so like, "What's your name? I'm gonna find your girlfriend. We could kill her." Like, and then he flips that switch at the end when he's threatening who we think is Ethan's wife, right? So
yeah.
To your point, right? So we get into it here because I didn't really like Rogue Nation as much when I first saw it in the theater, but rewatching, I really liked it a lot, and I think I'll actually it's moved up quite higher on my list than it was before. So we've had an opposite reaction here because I don't know, like I loved 4 at the time. 4 was my favorite of the movies, and as I said, rewatching 4, it was kind of weaker than I remember because I'm like, who is the villain and what is he doing? And Oh, he just jumps to his death in a car park. That's the big confrontation at the end. I don't know. Like, I like the characters, but and I like the stunts, I like the location, but there's just something that wasn't quite there. It was more a string of action set pieces, Mm-hmm. Of course, that's kind of how they've begun to conceive these movies. Tom Cruise and Kristen McQuarrie. They're like, all right, what do we want to do? And we'll write a story around that. But I feel like in this one, I don't know. It all connected more for me, and I actually liked Rogue Nation pretty much on par with the previous two films now, because they're both kind of on par for me. But that's interesting that you like it less now, because I was paying closer attention, and I like the elements to it. Like, you had Alec Baldwin, right? Let's talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
I like that CIA aspect to it. There is some oversight going on here with these characters, and he's from the outside, he's from the CIA, so he's a little antagonistic. But it was great to see Alec Baldwin in a serious role, because I think people forget that he was a serious actor, because he became so. He kind of had a resurgence in his career with 30 Rock, NBC comedy about 10 years ago, yep. and now he appears on SNL all the time as like Donald Trump, so he's kind of a comedy actor now more than anything. So it's nice to see him in a serious role, do a serious job, and you're like, wow, he still got it, and he was an intimidating presence, and I enjoyed his role in the movie, because what he says actually makes a lot of sense. He's like, yeah, I think you guys rely more on chance and luck than your ability, and Ethan Hunt, has this complex where he is the arsonist and the firefighter. I can totally see how, from an outside perspective, that flies. Because you look at, I love how he goes down the list. He's like, oh, CIA is quite familiar with the IMF when they broke into Langley and stole government files, right? And then he shows the Kremlin getting blown up, and he shows San Francisco almost getting destroyed. That's a great scene of like, hey, this is why we have issues with your agency. And I like that angle to the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I don't know, I didn't even like Alec Baldwin in this movie because I'm like, he's just that trope. He reminded me so much of Lawrence Fishburne, right? Mm-hmm. Where I realized that Lawrence Fishburne ended up being the good guy, right? But, it's like, he's just that trope of a character who's like, I'm the guy in charge, and I'm the boss in charge, and I'm going to beat my chest, and I'm in charge, and you better listen to me, and I don't know, it just.
But I think they set it up well with him stepping through. Like I said, the actions of the team in the previous films. You're like, oh, well, the guy's got a point, because he talks about they rely so much on luck and chance. It's so true. So many things go their way. I loved I don't know what did you take from it? In the scene where he's underwater, right?
I loved it.
And he pulls out the card, and it looks just like the other card, and he gets hit.
Yes.
I always assumed he just kind of guessed. And it was the right card,
Yes, absolutely. He just guessed, absolutely.
Because that is so Mission Impossible. Anything that will go wrong, or anything that can go wrong, will go wrong on these missions. Yeah. And that's the perfect. He's and they set it up too. The arm passes him by, and he almost hits him, right? Yeah. And he's so focused on getting the card out and holding his breath and all that, he gets hit by the arm, and everything goes to chaos at that point. And anyway, stuff like that. It is so chance.
Yes.
So.
You're right. He's not wrong, but it's just, it's. I don't know. It's just.
It's a justifiable, jerk boss. Lawrence Fishburne was a jerk just for I'm a jerk. I'm in charge. It's okay. And it was a misdirect as well. And the thing about Alec Baldwin was he wasn't in cahoots with the bad guys. He was just a guy looking at this from the outside, seeing an issue. And I think that's better than oh my God, the reason he didn't like us was he's a villain. It wasn't that, and it's never that simple. So
yes, yeah, it's funny how we're taking, because this is the first one where we're really divergent. Yeah. Even when we covered Halloween, we were, except for Halloween 6, I think was the only one where we really diverged our opinions on. Mm-hmm. When we covered Halloween for Talk Film Society. But yeah, it's interesting because we're really taking a different stance on this film, and I think it's good. I think it's okay that we don't have to always agree, and I think it's giving good discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes these conversations. It's better than yes, I agree. That was awesome. I know it was.
You're wrong, Zach.
No dissenting opinions.
You're not a Mission Impossible fan.
This isn't the real Mission Impossible.
This isn't.
So other things that I really did like is I liked. I felt like Brandt, his role was the in between here, worked really well. I feel like in the fourth one, it was kind of clear they introduced him like to be like, hey, could this guy take over the show? You know, but that didn't turn out to be the case. But here, remember, he kind of come from like being the secretary's assistant, so him being the in between the CIA and the team worked really well for me. And you know, we're kind of used to, and again, the chemistry, right? As I said, this is the first time where the whole team has been around in a previous movie, so these guys